Hi guys, welcome back. We've got a review for you. We've had loads and loads of articles on security and all kinds of other stuff. I thought it was about time for a review, and kind of in line with the latest stuff I talked about on the law and things you can and can't do regarding self-defense. There was a few people talking about they like to carry a flashlight, you know, it makes them feel a bit safer to carry one of those around. So I thought, what better time to review a tactical EDC flashlight at a very, very affordable price point. This is a brand that I haven't actually dealt with before. It's Sofirn, S-O-F-I-R-N. I've not heard of those guys before, so I wanted to really run this through its paces. You know, I've been carrying it for a few weeks now, playing with all the settings, running through those, making sure everything works as it should. I've been very happy with it. You know, I haven't had any issues whatsoever, so I'm going to take you through the details of this. Very, very affordable. I think they've got it on sale at the moment for like $35.99, something like that. So it's certainly a far cry from, you know, some of the more tactical, bigger brands that are in the hundreds of dollars or pounds in some cases. I realise that those things are going to be way beyond the reach of just the average person that wants to buy something to have a flashlight and possibly to lean on in a difficult situation. So let's take a look. The other thing I should mention is this thing is mooted as having 3,000 lumens, so that's absolutely huge. You know, 1,000 lumens is really bright. That's what you would normally see on these kind of EDC lights, and I've often in the past been kind of wary when I've seen high lumen values, and actually, you know, this does seem to put out some pretty decent lumens. So let's take a look. We'll go over the specs. So as you can see here, we have this Sofirn SC29. Give you a quick look on the back there if you want to pause the video. That'll give you an idea on some of the specs. We've got 3,000 lumens in turbo mode. In high mode, 1,000 lumens. So as I mentioned, that's kind of the standard. 350 lumens in mid. Low 30 lumens, which I actually quite like. A nice low light, because sometimes, you know, it can wash stuff out. If you're looking for something underneath a desk in the dark or something like that, you don't want 500 lumens because it just blinds you, it washes everything out. You just need something with a nice low light output. And then what I really like, this has got a kind of moonlight mode, 1 lumen, eco mode. So that's really useful if you're doing something like camping at night and you want to just be able to slightly see what you're doing so you're not tripping over stuff, then you can put it on 1 lumen. It just gives you enough light to be able to make your way around, possibly to take a quick look at something. You know, you don't want to be burning up batteries when you're out camping or adventuring if you don't need to. So I absolutely love lights with a moonlight mode, a really eco mode on them. It is made in China. I review lots and lots of stuff that's made in China. I've got no issues with that, because the Chinese manufacturing these days is very, very good indeed. There will be some people that are patriotic for their own countries and only want to buy stuff that's made within their own countries. You're going to pay a premium for that, and I completely understand why people feel strongly. Personally, I like to review products from all around the world at lots of different price points, so it gives everyone an opportunity of ownership. Because if I said we'll only review stuff that's made in the UK or the USA, for example, the price point alone would cut quite a large portion of the population out of ownership there. So we can see in the box we have the light itself. Give you a close-up of that. I'll go through the specs in a second. Nice size, nice and robust. It's clearly well made, aircraft grade aluminium body, pocket clip. Then we also have a lanyard in there, and then we have this separate box which has got the instructions in multiple languages, and of course a charging cable, because this is rechargeable, and that is a standard USB-C. So one of the first points I'd make about this, quite interestingly, is the battery that it takes. Obviously, as we've mentioned, it's rechargeable, and some of these devices, you know, they have a proprietary battery in there which you can't really mess about with. And yes, they're rechargeable, but I would argue that once they've finished, you know, after thousands of recharges, they're not going to work anymore, and then you've got no hope left but to go back to that company and actually try and, you know, get a battery off them, or search up one on eBay or something like that, or buy a completely new product. This actually takes rechargeable 21700 batteries, which you can buy in most specialty battery stores. You can certainly buy them online. And just to prove we're not dealing with any sort of proprietary battery technology, I've got my own rather camp looking 21700 there. I think it's some sort of Mexican wrap on it, but we'll put that in. Do that up, and then we should have light. Yeah, so works absolutely fine with, as long as you're using a decent brand of battery. I wouldn't recommend buying some really cheap rubbish and chucking it in there, because of course they can go wrong and start getting really hot and catching fire. We don't want to do that. So pop that in there, screw that up. Battery change is nice and easy, as you can see. And then we're back to function again. It does even tell you on the bottom there, it's got a little symbol showing which way the battery goes in, and then on the top it has the usual, this bit gets hot, because of course if you're running it in high mode or turbo mode, that LED is going to get super hot on the top. So just beware, you know, if you leave it on for an extended period of time in one of those higher modes, don't start putting it on your hand or something, you may burn yourself. So what are the modes of this thing? Well, it's actually pretty simple. You guys know I like a really simple device. I don't want too many button presses. I don't want to have to press the button 15 times to do one action. Press it once, we're in low mode. If I hold it down, it will cycle through middle mode, high mode, and then back to low mode. So we'll demonstrate that. Mid, high, back to low. So you can see it cycling through those. I can just take my finger off of whichever one I want. So that's middle mode, high mode, back to low. So nice and easy. If I want to kick it into turbo mode, then I can double tap this from off, and there we go, turbo mode. Incredibly bright, as you can see. That's the 3000 lumens that it says it's throwing out. Now if we go into turbo mode and I double click again, then we are into the strobe mode, which is probably going to give me a headache, so I'm going to switch that off. I'm not a big fan of strobe mode, to be honest. And then it will just revert back. Now whichever mode you leave it in, so let's say we want it to start up in low mode with a single click, that's what it's doing at the moment. Now if we change that, we wanted to start it up in high mode, switch it on, cycle to high, switch it off, now it's in high mode, and then when we put it back on next, it will always come on in high mode. You cannot get it to cycle into turbo mode and switch it on in turbo mode for probably health and safety reasons. It's going to blind you as you switch it on. You have to access that from off and then double click, and the strobe mode you have to access as well from that turbo mode by double clicking again. You can hit this 3 times and it will give you a little signal where you can lock the device. So if I hit it 3 times, it will give you that little blink. Now the device is locked. So if I try and switch it on, it will just keep blinking. It's not going to come on or do anything. It's just in locked mode. So if you were leaving it in a backpack or something like that and you wanted to make sure this wasn't going to get pushed around in your backpack and then suddenly turned on to turbo mode and possibly get really hot, you can set it on that. And then if you want to switch that off, again 3 clicks, and it's back on again, and then it's just functioning as normal. I'm going to turn it off. I'll leave that in low mode, so when it comes back on it will go into low mode. Very, very easy. The button is nice and clicky. It actually feels quite pleasant to use. It's a very sort of therapeutic click you get out of that. I like a good clicky button. As I said, the build quality is very robust. It's got some knurling on here, which is giving you a good bit of grip. Even bigger knurling on the front end there. It hasn't got anything, you know, no jagged edges on there. If you do end up carrying one of those torches with the jagged front end, the DNA collector, then that could lead you into some legal problems, because if you were to utilize this, you know, it came to hand at the last minute and you were in fear of your life and you grabbed it and tried to get someone away from you and you started hitting them with your torch, and you do them a load of damage with this jagged front piece, then people are going to argue that that was a weapon. You know, why are you carrying around something with a jagged front end in your pocket? That clearly has a specific utility. I can't think of much else that you could use that for. You know, there's no kind of bushcraft use for it or proper EDC use for having this really sharp, jagged front face on a torch. And anyone with half a brain can see why that thing is there in the first place. So I've heard guys say, oh, I could argue this, I could argue that. Well, good luck in court. You know, I would rather cut my losses and not have that on the front edge of a flashlight and just have a standard flashlight, because this thing, it's going to be very hard to argue that you are carrying it for any other reason. You know, it is just a standard flashlight. It's very sturdy. It has quite a weight to it. It weighs 2.68 ounces without the battery, 76 grams, but it definitely feels like quite a weighty object when the battery is in it. You would feel safer walking around with something sturdy like this in your pocket, and also the fact that it's got that turbo mode with 3000 lumens, so if someone ran up to you with ill intent and you stick 3000 lumens in their face and say, you know, what the hell are you doing? That definitely would remove their ability to see what was going on for probably a good 30 seconds. If you're a runner, that gives you time to get away. You know, if you can't get away and they were seriously trying to attack you, that would buy you a little bit of time to have a tactical advantage over them. So definitely something I would recommend, for example, for a female to carry around in her bag, because she's going to use it to get in at night, to get her keys in the garage door, getting in and out of her car, all those kind of things. But it will just give her that added layer of security, hopefully. On the side there, we have our little USB thing, which is covered by that rubber block, pretty standard for USB things nowadays. That can just be pushed back in, so that gives it a level of waterproofing. You've also got O-rings here that sort of keep the water from ingressing into the battery department, and it comes with, I believe, an IP68 rating, so it should be pretty good in bad weather. You know, if it's raining, it's obviously not going to survive if you drop it to the bottom of a swimming pool and leave it overnight, but it's certainly going to survive in fairly wet conditions. Now, this front end is on there pretty tight, but it can be unscrewed, which I'm guessing then you could access the bulb and make a change to that if you so wished. That's also good news, because I have looked at some lights before that, yeah, they work fine, everything's good, but like I said, they had a proprietary battery, so that can't be changed. And then to make matters worse, it seemed like the compartment at the front was absolutely impossible to access unless you were prepared to start taking all the gubbins out from inside, and you maybe need some electronics sort of skills or knowledge to be confident enough to want to do that without breaking the thing. This looks like it would just come undone, so a lot easier in terms of replacement parts. They claim this throws light out to about 142 meters. I'll chuck up a bit of footage. You know, I've got some very basic filming of me beaming it outside across to the barn, so we're probably looking at about 80 meters there. That'll give you a fair idea of its capability, but it's more than enough for most people, you know, unless you've got some sort of extreme requirements. And if you have, some very extreme thing that you're doing that needs to be illuminating stuff at 140 plus meters, you're probably spending way more than this on a flashlight to do that. Would I recommend this? So far I've got to say, yeah, I would. You know, it's a great price. I think that's the main part that I like about it, is the quality for the price is unreal. Like I said, on offer at the moment, $35.99. From what I can understand, it's usually about 50 something. I'll stick a link up down below. If you do buy one, and you can please use that link, it generates a few pence for the channel, so that's always appreciated and very useful. We can keep putting up the content with that added money. But yeah, I think it's great value. And I mean, even if this lasted a year or two and you just bought one as a kind of rugged, you know, use in the garden, use in the tool shed, use for when you're doing some really kind of hard labor that you know it's going to get knocked about, possibly damaged, then you're not going to be too upset if you lose it or anything terrible happens to it. Whereas if you're running a $300 flashlight, then you kind of worry a little bit about what happens to those in extreme environments. So yes, the more expensive ones are sometimes made more ruggedly, but at the same time, if you drop them off the side of a cliff or down the bottom of a river, that's gone forever, and then you have to replace something that costs $300. So not fun. Guys, I hope that review was useful. I hope you like the look of this as much as I did. I very much enjoyed using it. I'll probably keep carrying it from time to time, like I said, when I'm doing some rough work and I just want a flashlight that I can rely on but not worry too much about in case it gets damaged, then this is the one I'm going to pick. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll catch you all soon.